All right, so for your paper, which is where your oil pastel project will go on, this is pastel paper, so I spent a little bit more money on you guys for this semester than I did on the kids last semester, and I bought like legit pastel paper, so when you get this you'll feel that it's a bit heavier, so it's a really good paper. Now the downside of that is that because it's a little bit more expensive, I only have one sheet per person. So if you do mess up, you have to find a way to make it right. There is no Mrs. Gower can I have another piece of paper scenario. Okay, so make sure you do this right. Now, because we're using the grid method, it does put a lot of pressure on you guys to literally do this perfect. And I hate using that word, but when you use the grid method, you have to use it, okay? Because any variation of what I'm showing you could result in a wacky project, okay? So when you guys do this, we want to have the same amount of columns and rows on this as we do on our photograph, okay? So that means we need to do a 2-inch grid on this. So that means every measurement you're making on this paper is 2 inches. That's all you need to remember, okay? Now when you start this, you want to start over here. I'm going to start over here on the left side. And you want to make sure that you start where the 0 mark is. So make sure you look at your ruler and you know where 0 starts. And then I'm going to take white charcoal pencil and I'm going to mark off every 2 inches. Now notice that when I make these marks, they're not long. I'm not going like this real fast, okay? I'm being very precise and very deliberate on what I'm doing. And I'm always checking to make sure that my ruler hasn't slipped and I'm mismeasuring it as a result of that. So you want to make it pretty nice. Now, when you go to do your measurements over on the top of the paper, whatever you do, do not turn your paper and then start measuring over here again like that. The reason why that's wrong is because these corners, although they might look square to you, probably are not, okay? When manufacturers cut paper, they literally stack hundreds of sheets of paper on top of each other and they have a big press that comes down. So the top is a different measurement than the bottom of that pile. So you want to make sure that you follow this step. So when you're done with the bottom, take your ruler, lift it up, and then start making your measurements up here at the top again. So again, every 2 inches, make sure that your ruler isn't moving on you. And be very precise about what you're doing. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing for my vertical lines here, or long lines. I guess I should say long lines. Depends on if you're doing vertical or horizontal. So again, be very precise. And you guys will notice too with the white charcoal pencil, because it's so soft, it doesn't take much at all to make a mark. So there's no need to put any pressure on the white pastel pencil or the white charcoal pencil. Going through. Again, be very precise. All right, so once you got your marks all the way around, now you're ready to draw your lines. I'm going to show you how to draw a couple of these and the rest is going to be up to you guys. Now you'll need a yardstick for the long lines. There's no need to worry about if you can see the measurements on these or not. We're just using it as a straight edge. This is another step that a lot of kids mess up on. When you do this, make sure your lines are matched up. Okay, and then when you do this, you literally want to just drag the white charcoal pencil on top of the paper, so no pressure at all. We want these lines to be super, super light, almost hard to see, okay? So I'm just going to drag it across, just like that, okay? Because the lighter your pencil, or the lighter these lines are, the easier it's going to be to cover them up when you add the oil pastel. Now, if you do this with a really heavy hand and you put a lot of pressure down on the white charcoal pencil, it's going to be really hard for you guys to get rid of these grid lines. So, although they're very helpful, we do not want them to show up on our finished product, okay? So you're just going to keep doing that. You can use your regular ruler to do the other lines. It's long enough to do that. But that's basically what you're going to do, okay? So that's the next step. Okay.